chances are your company's marketing efforts could be producing better results. We're here to help make your marketing smarter. Welcome to Marketing Cupcakes, bringing you the latest in marketing analytics, data science techniques, integration challenges, guerrilla marketing techniques, and more. Here are your hosts of Marketing Cupcakes, Dave and James Gilbert.
All right, Zach, we'll just get started then. So welcome to another episode of Marketing Cupcakes. We're really excited to have Zak Pines with us. Zack is the VP of Marketing of Bedrock Data, and today we're going to be talking about why it's essential to integrate your marketing systems and how to overcome common integration challenges. So Zack, why don't we talk about a little bit about you and your background, and why don't we start there?
Sounds good. Guys, been at the marketing technology, the marketing automation thing for a while now, probably coming up on, believe it or not, about 20 years. Working in this industry, kind of all different angles. Love MarTech, love demand generation. And I'm the VP of Marketing at Bedrock Data, and we help companies connect their SaaS systems. And we do that for marketers. We do that for operations professionals. So, many folks are coming at the challenge of connecting systems from an IT perspective, and we're looking at it more from the kind of the marketer, the business ops user who says, I need to have my systems working together in order to get the most out of those systems, and I want to have the flexibility to manage that at the pace that my business demands.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zach, Bedrock Data, can you tell us a little bit about, Bedrock and their background and how it kind of all evolved, and then we can kind of get into systems integrations and, how that's changing over time?
Sure. The background of Bedrock Data is, it saw the problem with several of our co-founders came from HubSpot, where they saw that challenge of, companies trying to implement HubSpot, or they already have HubSpot, and they're bringing on new SaaS systems. Companies have, small companies have, several SaaS systems these days. Big companies could have, dozens and dozens. So, everyone is dealing with that challenge of, how do I both serve the needs of my specialized users, yet ensure that all my systems, and not just marketing systems, CRM systems, support systems, finance, billing, e-commerce, all work together. So while at HubSpot, they saw that problem, and they, worked to solve that, launched Bedrock Data. This is now going on about 5 years, and kind of quickly we're able to, solve that problem for many, many different companies who had the need of connecting, disparate SaaS systems.
Yeah, absolutely. I that's one thing that I experienced at my last company as well, Zach, is just there's so many disparate systems and technology is evolving so quickly. There's just this hyper need to be able to aggregate all the data and standardize it all. So one of the first questions I had for you, Zach, is because of these technologies that are evolving so quickly, and all these different departments are using this data from sales and marketing to customer support, as you elaborated on. At what point in a company's life cycle are you guys seeing where it becomes kind of an essential piece? I mean, obviously, I think a preferred method would be, hey, gather all this data and have it all standardized, when you start. But that's probably not realistic for a lot of companies. And so how do you guys kind of look at that as when does a company, in their life cycle really need to focus on this?
Well, I think it's really at a point when, first of all, you have multiple systems that are kind of core to your business. The most common pairings that we see are, the CRM system is the backbone, call it, of not only the sales team, but certain back office functions. And the marketing automation or the marketing platform is really that growth driver. So we're seeing a lot of the need for integrations driven by companies making more and more marketing investments to drive growth. So that's been the trigger is, companies are looking to grow. they're investing in marketing systems, it's important that those marketing systems both pull data from existing databases to be able to do things like target customers based on the right customer data, as well as feed data to those systems to get leads to salespeople in a real-time manner and report on the results of that in a full funnel analytics fashion. So it happens for many small businesses, and it's really the driver of it has tended to be investing in a new marketing system. I would also say that's the right time to solve that problem, meaning if you have your systems connecting and talking to each other from the start, it's going to save you a ton of headache, a ton of data cleanup projects down the road. So a little bit of effort and a little bit of cost, you can have that working when you launch those systems and avoid the headaches down the road.
Gotcha. And have you noticed? So it sounds like one of the key things is just when they're starting to invest more in marketing systems. Is that right, Zach?
Yes, correct. Key time for kind of connecting your systems when they're making that investment in marketing systems. Absolutely.
And so as you're looking at them investing in their marketing systems, what are some common? Or James, are you on the phone?
Yeah, I am. So Zach, I'm curious to know what some of the common challenges that companies face when they do want to, let's say, invest in new technology and bring it on. What are some of those challenges that companies face in order to optimize what they currently have and what they're bringing on?
So I think the challenge that's triggering the investment in marketing technology is typically the challenge to grow and scale the business. That's what's triggering the initial investment. How do we execute our go-to-market? How do we execute sales and marketing more effectively? Once they make that decision, then the challenge is, I've got multiple systems that need to work together. I probably don't have a large IT team or the ability to assign or allocate IT resources for, new development. And what people often kind of overlook is it's not just about setting up my systems, it's about maintaining them over time. So what happens when, my business rules change? What happens when I change my data? So, the challenge is one of, executing it quickly and having something that is easy and quick to evolve as the business evolves without reliance on, traditional development or traditional IT methods, which are likely not able to move at the pace that sales and marketing teams are looking to make decisions and act on those decisions to be able to execute effectively.
And are there specifics that you've seen as far as, is it more resource-oriented that you've seen with companies, or is it more knowledge with the people that are actually implementing it, or is it, more in the weeds, with, for example, field sets, like you have to set up certain fields to push back and forth?
Here's what I see is when you're connecting 2 or 3 or 4 systems, by definition, you're working with specialized systems. So, there's Salesforce administrators, there's NetSuite administrators, there's Dynamics administrators, there's HubSpot, specialists. So it's more about being able to leverage kind of pre-built ways that these systems work together, takes out what would be a tremendous amount of back and forth between people, because these are people that likely come from different backgrounds, have different understandings of the systems and how they're trying to connect. And that's what causes these traditional system integration projects to take, months and months and months. It's really the people side of specialized systems. Bedrock Data's angle to that is, we've figured that out so that that's much more turnkey, and you don't get stuck in an IT kind of integration process or project.
Yeah, sure. That's great feedback. Dave, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm still here. So, Zach, when companies I understand one of the reasons Bedrock is in business is because companies have a lot of these system integrations challenges. And I've run across those when you're trying to integrate HubSpot and Salesforce, and you have different drop-down fields or different field types in one system and different field types in another. So, without Bedrock Data, how were companies doing this before, and what type of expertise do they need? And then with companies like Bedrock Data that kind of standardize the data, how is that changing? What kind of expertise do you need now?
Right. So to do a custom integration, prior to Bedrock Data, you need someone driving, call it the overall business process. You likely need, or you do need, people that are specialized in each of those respective systems. So that Salesforce admin, that HubSpot admin, or the Marketo admin, or the NetSuite or Dynamics, or pick your SaaS system. And then, most importantly, you need a development resource or resources to kind of code up your APIs. And it's not just about moving data from system A to system B. It's kind of bidirectionally. Like, how do these systems change? At the same time, we all know that sales and marketing is as interlinked as ever before. So, one day someone could be on your website, the next day they're talking to a sales rep, the next day they're attending a webinar, the next day they're getting a sales email, the next day they're attending an event. So there's a constant interplay back and forth that needs to be accounted for with the APIs between these systems. So that's kind of the old way is, you need someone who kind of understands the overall process. You need specialists in those respective systems to translate that into the fields and the data, and then you need a development team to code that. With Bedrock Data, we've done the underlying connectors that just need to be configured around the flow of process and the flow of data. So it's really just that overall, call it, business lead who's saying, this is how a lead is going to originate and flow through our system, and this is kind of the overall process between marketing and sales. And through our connectors and through the interface that we have to manage the workflow of data, that can be set up across 2, 3, 4, even 5 different SaaS systems.
Are there?
I'm actually really glad, Zach, that you mentioned the whole following a lead all the way through the cycle and seeing where they're going to be at each stage. Because for companies that, for example, don't have the resources or bandwidth to hire developers to do those API integrations, that's a good way to at least determine the gaps that exist within your system integrations is following that lead from start to finish. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, again, our bread and butter, the marketing automation and the CRM systems. And the nice thing about, every marketing automation system that we work with, whether it's HubSpot or Marketo, Eloqua, Pardot, Acton, they all cater for feeding back opportunity data from a CRM. So they all have some capability to allow for marketers and sales, teams to get that full funnel analytics, that closed loop visibility. It tends to be, harder and harder to do depending on your CRM system. Could be a big, pain in the neck if you're trying to do that for NetSuite or Dynamics or even Salesforce for some companies. So the point being is the capabilities are out there. Every system supports that, but implementing it and executing it has been a challenge for many folks in the past.
Gotcha. Zach, are there just one last little question? Are there any common integrations that you see? You talk about the CRM kind of being the bedrock of person's or a company's systems, which I would agree with, and we've talked about that in different podcasts before. And then I think marketing automation is right behind that, probably with a customer support system and an analytics system. Are those kind of the 4 bedrock systems that you guys typically integrate with?
They are. I would throw in, there's kind of these what I could call kind of lead origination systems, like webinar and event platforms. Those are also, very common. I'd say every company has at least one of those, whether it's a GoToWebinar or WebEx or On24 or Cvent, Eventbrite, sometimes 2 or 3, depending on how specialized their needs are. And then another system that we also see coming into play is e-commerce as well.
Cool. Okay. Well, Zach, thanks so much for being on with us today. I think this has been really valuable to us and to our listeners, just because it's such a difficult thing, I think, to manage and get your head around. I think a lot of people go into sales and marketing thinking they'll be able to manage this and it will just kind of flow nicely. And I think when reality sets in of the type of data that needs to be managed, it's a really difficult challenge to overcome. And I think you guys are providing a great solution. And so if our listeners want to get in touch with you, Zach, or get a hold of Bedrock Data, where would they go to do that?
Oh, super. So bedrockdata.com is our website. Zack, Z-A-K, at bedrockdata.com. I'm also on Twitter, Moneyball Marketer, Moneyball MKTR, if you guys want to follow along there.
Perfect. Thanks, Zach, and thanks for your time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Marketing Cupcakes, an Endure podcast with your hosts, Dave and James Gilbert. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit marketingcupcakes.com. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and rate the podcast. We'll catch you next time on Marketing Cupcakes.